3 Turkish officials have been killed in the city of Erbil, that's in northern Iraq. Now, the Turkish Deputy Consul General and 2 other staff members are believed to be the victims. Let's go over to Osama bin Javaid. He's on the line for us from Baghdad. So what more do we know about this incident?
Sammy, in the last few minutes, we've been getting details about these 3 diplomats who have been killed at an upscale neighborhood in Erbil. It is the capital of the Kurdish region in northern Iraq. We do not know what was the motive or who carried out this attack as of yet. But what we've been told by security sources is that the Consul General, the Deputy Consul General, with 2 of his colleagues, they were at this eatery, which is close to an upscale neighborhood called Green City on Airport Road, where a number of assailants came in and shot him and his colleagues at point-blank range. The security forces have cordoned off the area and they're carrying out initial investigations. So far, what we've been told by security sources in KRG, there weren't any active threats against diplomats in that area, so this has caught them by surprise.
Osama, I don't want you to try and speculate, but looking at the type of attack, the way that this has happened with people committing a shooting, apparently as these 3 were having lunch, how common is that kind of targeting, that method of diplomats?
Well, this is the first incident where diplomats have been targeted in Iraq. The last time we can think of is perhaps during the beginning of the war, when there were lots of bombings which were taking place in Baghdad and elsewhere, where diplomats and others had been caught into it. But this seems to be a unique incident of its kind where diplomats have been targeted and assassinated. So we do not know why or what was the motive behind it, but then you have to realize the kind of tensions that exist and the neighborhood, the wider picture of the neighborhood that Iraq is in, where it's multiple players, where its neighbors are Iran, Turkey. There is remnants of ISIL, which security forces say that there are sleeper cells still active in various parts of Iraq. So there are a number of threats inside Iraq and from outside of Iraq, which can at any point escalate. But as I said, we do not know who targeted these diplomats and what was the reason behind them. Security forces have only told us that as these men came in, they were having a meal and they were killed. And these attackers exactly knew who they were coming after and who they were going to target.
All right, just looking at the geography of where this happened in Ankara, which is, we understand, just outside Erbil, what does that tell us about this attack?
Yes, this is Ankara is a predominantly Christian neighborhood. It's a very lively, bustling place where not just diplomats, but people from all over Erbil come in, have their meals. It's a very happening place. There's a lot of traffic at any time, given time during the day. So we know that it's a busy area. And now that the fight against ISIL has been over for a couple of years, the security fears have come down as well. So we see diplomats and foreigners out on the streets quite openly, going into the marketplaces, going to eateries. So the situation in the last 24 months or so has been relatively peaceful in these parts. But this goes to show that the threat is not completely over, and there are people who are still trying to assassinate or target others on the basis of what they want to do.
All right, let's thank Osama bin Javaid, but I'm going to ask you to stand by with us, Osama, as we continue to get developments on this one. Let's go live now, though, to Sinem Kosoğlu. She's in Istanbul. Have we had any official word on this incident?
Sami, for now, there is nothing official yet, but we have confirmed that 3 Turkish consulate employees, including the Deputy Consul General, have been killed during this deadly attack. The Foreign Ministry said that they will make a statement, so we are waiting for a statement about what they have figured out until now. But the investigation is ongoing from the Turkish side as well. Let me remind you one thing. Turkish military has been conducting counter PKK against outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party operations in northern Iraq, in the Iraqi Kurdistan, and that has been actually ongoing for a while. And the second phase has been launched last week. And earlier, Turkish army announced they killed at least 7 outlaw Kurdistan Workers' Party fighters via air raids. And yesterday, Turkish army seized their weapons. So Turkish army has been actually pressing against the outlaw Kurdistan Workers' Party. This has been ongoing, but I have to remind that recently Turkish and Iraqi officials have decided to do operations against the PKK inside Iraq, not only in Sinjar, but also in other places to wipe them out. So this is one case ongoing, and Turkish relations with the Iraqi Kurdistan have been strained following a referendum in Iraqi Kurdistan 2 years ago, but recently the relations have been re-established. The new president, Barham Salih, came to Turkey, and Iraq's Kurdish officials have been coming to Turkey. So the timing is interesting because the relations have been mended after this tension with regard to the referendum. However, there is no information about this motive of the attack. What we have been hearing from the reports is that just 20 minutes after the Turkish consulate employees have entered inside the restaurant to have their lunch, the attack happened. So now some experts discuss on Turkish televisions that this is a very planned attack that really targeted the Turkish diplomats in that restaurant today.
I'm going to ask you to stay with us for a moment there, Sinem, as we're looking. Let me point out to viewers on the screen, these are pictures from moments ago from Ankawa. That's just on the outskirts, just outside of Erbil, which is, of course, one of the major cities in northern Iraq. It's kind of the headquarters for the Kurdish administration up there. And this seems to be the aftermath scenes that we're looking at after those 3 diplomats were killed, what we believe to be a shooting. So clearly a lot of security, as you'd expect, in this town, which is a predominantly Assyrian town there. Let's bring in Sinem once again. As you mentioned, Sinem, there was an earlier Turkish operation which killed 7 PKK, that's the Kurdish separatist group, PKK fighters. Are the authorities working to the assumption or suspicion that this might be a PKK operation?
Well, there's nothing discussed as such so far, but I have to underline that Turkey, Iraqi Kurdistan, and the central government of Iraq have been committed for a counter-PKK process in Iraq. So that is one thing, but it is too early to make guesses or speculate about that. We have to wait for official statements because there are so many dividends, so many things at stake for Turkey, for Iraq, and the Kurdish regional government out there. Plus, Iran is a neighboring country, so there are so many. There are so many dimensions of the situation. However, it seems like, according to what we have been hearing by the reports in the Turkish media, it seems like the Turkish diplomats have been targeted directly. But I have to say that this is important in one case because Iraqi Kurdistan, the regional government, has been the second largest export or trade partner for Turkey following the EU countries. So the relations have always been very strong despite the fact of the PKK. Turkish construction companies, other Turkish companies have been in the Kurdish region of Iraq for more than 1.5 decades. So this is also important to see because Erbil has been known as a safe place not only for the Iraqis but also for the Turkish diplomats and for the Turkish businessmen as well.
All right, thanks so much, Sinem Kosoğlu there. Let's go back to Osama.